Such a perfect specimen of manhood. So dominant.
What if I told you that the most successful, most enduring cult film in history was a complete and utter disaster on arrival? A film so rejected by audiences that it was nearly locked away and forgotten forever. This is the story of how a catastrophic flop became a global phenomenon. Welcome back to Golden Flicker. Tonight, we're giving ourselves over to absolute pleasure as we journey to the weird and wonderful world of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. But we're not just here to sing Time Warp. We are peeling back the velvet curtain to reveal 20 shocking, strange, and salacious secrets behind its creation, counting down from 20 to 1. We'll uncover real skeletons, legendary rock stars who were desperate for a role, and a bizarre connection to one of the biggest anime shows on the planet. Released in 1975, the Rocky Horror Picture Show, based on the stage musical by Richard O'Brien, tells the story of the innocent, newly engaged couple Brad Majors and Janet Weiss. When their car breaks down on a stormy night, they seek help at a nearby castle, only to stumble into the annual Transylvanian Convention, hosted by the self-proclaimed sweet transvestite from transsexual Transylvania, Dr. Frank-N-Furter. What follows is a whirlwind of seduction, rock and roll, and murder that changes their lives forever. Do you remember the first time you witnessed the chaos of Frank-N-Furter's castle? The first time you shouted slut or asshole in a crowded theater? Let's dive into the secrets that made it all happen. Kicking off our countdown at number 20, the castle was a horror movie star. That creepy gothic castle where Brad and Janet lose their innocence wasn't just a set. It's a real place called Oakley Court, located near Bray, England. And if it looks familiar to horror fans, it should. Before Frank-N-Furter ever set foot in it, Oakley Court was the go-to location for the legendary British horror film studio Hammer Film Productions. It appeared in classics like The Brides of Dracula and The Plague of the Zombies. The building was in a state of disrepair during filming, with no heat and leaky roofs, which only added to the authentic, creepy atmosphere and the misery of the cast. But we'll get to that later. At number 19, Frank-N-Furter's bizarre anime legacy. This is one you probably didn't see coming. Decades after Tim Curry donned his corset and fishnets, his iconic performance directly inspired a character in one of the best-selling manga and anime of all time, One Piece. The character is Emporio Ivankov, the queen of the Kamabaka Queendom. With his dramatic makeup, revealing outfit, and larger-than-life personality, Ivankov is a direct and loving homage to Dr. Frank-N-Furter. One Piece creator Ichiro Oda is a known cinephile, and this was his tribute to a performance that transcended borders and generations. Coming in at number 18, the original title was less catchy. The Rocky Horror Show is a perfect title. It's punchy, descriptive, and memorable. But during its development as a stage play, Richard O'Brien had another title in mind. They Came from Denton. This was a clear nod to the B-list sci-fi movies of the 50s, like It Came from Outer Space. While it fit the theme, it lacked the electric punch of the final name. Thankfully, a friend suggested changing it, and the rest is history. Denton was kept as the name of Brad and Janet's wholesome hometown. Number 17. The lips belong to Magenta, but the voice belongs to Raff. The film's opening number, science fiction double feature, is one of cinema's most iconic introductions. we see a pair of disembodied red lips singing the song. Those lips belong to Patricia Quinn, who played Magenta. She was horrified when she found out she was only being paid a small fee to just be a pair of lips. However, the voice you hear is not hers. It's the creator and Raff himself, Richard O'Brien. Quinn had no idea O'Brien was going to sing the track and only found out on the first day of recording. The combination of a woman's lips and a man's voice perfectly, if accidentally, set the stage for the film's gender-bending themes. Number 16. That skeleton in the clock was 100% real. Remember the grandfather clock that Riff Raff opens to reveal a skeleton just before the time warp begins? Well, that wasn't a prop. It was a genuine human skeleton. It supposedly belonged to the wife of an English earl who insisted on being interred inside the clock. The production company rented the clock for the shoot, skeleton included. The cast was reportedly quite creeped out once they found out they were acting alongside actual human remains. Number 15. Peter Hinwood's voice was completely dubbed. Peter Hinwood was cast as Frank's muscular creation, Rocky, primarily for his looks. He was a model, not a singer or an actor. While he tried his best, the filmmakers ultimately decided his voice wasn't right for the part. His singing on The Sword of Damocles and all his spoken lines were dubbed by a professional singer named Trevor White. So the perfect body you see belongs to Hinwood, but the perfect voice you hear belongs to someone else entirely. Number 14. The Criminologist could have been a horror legend. The role of the Criminologist, the dry academic narrator, was perfectly played by Charles Gray. But he wasn't the first choice. The producers originally offered the role to the master of horror himself, Vincent Price. He was a huge fan of the stage show and wanted to do it, but scheduling conflicts forced him to decline. While Gray was fantastic, one can only imagine the extra layer of gothic gravitas Vincent Price would have brought to the role. Number 13. Tim Curry's royal inspiration. When Tim Curry was developing the voice for Frank-N-Furter, he initially experimented with German and American accents, but they felt like cliches. Then he had a bizarre stroke of genius. He told interviewers that one day on a London bus, he overheard a woman speaking in a very posh, regal accent. He thought, "That's it. Frank is the Queen." He based Frank's precise, upper-crust elocution on Queen Elizabeth II, believing it would create a hilarious and unsettling contrast with his outrageous appearance and behavior. And he was absolutely right. Number 12. Meatloaf hated his wheelchair scenes. The legendary singer Meatloaf delivered an electrifying performance as the rebellious ex-delivery boy Eddie, but he had a miserable time filming his final scenes. The prop for his character's corpse, which is brought to the dinner table, was a real wheelchair with a dummy body. Meatloaf himself had to sit in it for close-ups. He said the chair had sharp edges that bruised him, and one of its wheels constantly rolled over his foot, causing him immense pain. He called it one of the worst experiences of his life. Number 11. The infamous dinner scene prop. Speaking of that dinner scene, the big reveal is that the cast has been eating the remains of Eddie. The prop used for the body under the tablecloth was apparently quite realistic and grotesque. But the real horror came from the smell. The set was not refrigerated, and the scene took several days to shoot under hot studio lights. The meat and vegetable props began to genuinely rot, creating an overpoweringly foul stench. The looks of disgust on the actors' faces, especially Susan Sarandon's, are completely genuine reactions to the smell. Number 10. The Unseen Song. A song sung by Brad, titled Once in a While, was filmed but ultimately cut from the movie. It was a sad ballad he sings after Janet has been with Rocky, lamenting his situation. The filmmakers felt it slowed the frantic pace of the film down too much. While it has been restored in some special editions, its removal from the theatrical cut was likely the right choice to keep the energy high. Number 9. Brad and Janet were a real-life couple. Briefly. The on-screen chemistry between Barry Bostwick as Brad and Susan Sarandon as Janet was real. The two were actually dating at the time of filming. However, the grueling shoot took its toll. Bostwick later joked that their relationship couldn't survive the endless takes of the finale, where they had to dance in high heels and kept painfully stepping on each other's toes. Number 8. The official forgotten sequel. Did you know there was an official sequel? In 1981, Richard O'Brien wrote and released Shock Treatment. It follows Brad and Janet, played by different actors, in a story that satirizes the rise of reality television, years before it was even a thing. While some of the original cast returned in different roles, the film lacked the magic of the first, had no Tim Curry, and bombed completely. It's a strange curiosity that most fans have either forgotten or never knew existed. And that brings us to the golden flicker moment, number 7. We've reached a pivotal moment in our journey, a fact that peels back the glitter to reveal the true grit behind the production. This is the story of how the cast truly suffered to create this masterpiece of joy. As we mentioned, Oakley Court was a freezing, damp, and leaky location. There was no on-set heating to combat the bitter autumn England. For a cast spending most of their time in lingerie and corsets, it was torture. It got so bad that Susan Sarandon, who was only in her underwear for the pool scene and much of the film, contracted pneumonia. She was visibly shaking and ill during takes, but like a true professional, she pushed through. The studio wanted to replace her, but she insisted on finishing. The joy and energy you see on screen was a triumph of will over miserable physical conditions. Do you agree that this is the golden flicker moment? Let's continue. At number 6, Steve Martin auditioned for Brad. Before he was a comedy superstar, a young Steve Martin auditioned for the role of the straight-laced hero, Brad. 20th Century Fox insisted on casting American actors for Brad and Janet to appeal to U.S. audiences. While it's hard to imagine anyone but Barry Bostwick in the role, the thought of Steve Martin doing the time warp is an incredible what-if scenario. Number 5. Mick Jagger desperately wanted to be Frank-N-Furter. The role of Dr. Frank-N-Furter is Tim Curry's legacy, but one of the biggest rock stars on the planet desperately wanted it for himself, Mick Jagger. The Rolling Stones frontman lobbied hard for the part, feeling it was perfect for his androgynous stage persona. However, the producers rightly felt that Curry, who had originated and perfected the role on stage, was the only choice. Curry was Frank-N-Furter. Number 4. The film was a massive box office bomb. It's almost impossible to believe now, but when the Rocky Horror Picture Show was released in 1975, it was a colossal failure. Critics hated it, and audiences just didn't get it. It was pulled from most theaters within weeks. 20th Century Fox considered it a total write-off, a failed experiment destined for the studio vault. For a while, it seemed like the movie would disappear without a trace. Number 3. The Midnight Movie Miracle. So how did a flop become a legend? A young Fox executive named Tim Deegan convinced the studio to try a different strategy: midnight screenings. He booked the film at the Waverly Theater in New York City on April 1, 1976. At first, the same small group of fans kept coming back. Then, slowly, something magical began to happen. The audience started talking back to the screen. And that leads us to number 2. The audience participation was completely unplanned. The entire subculture surrounding Rocky Horror, the callbacks, the costumes, the props, was not created by the studio. It was invented entirely by the fans. It started with a woman named Dory Hartley shouting, "Buy an umbrella, you cheap bitch," at Janet. Soon, others joined in, creating the famous call and response script. People started bringing props from home: newspapers to shield from the rain, water guns, toast for the toast scene. This organic, fan-created experience is what turned the film from a movie into a cultural event. And the number 1 secret of the Rocky Horror Picture Show is its legacy was an accident. The single most important thing to know about Rocky Horror is that its success is a beautiful accident. It wasn't designed to be an interactive cult classic. It failed through every traditional metric of success. It succeeded because it found its people in the dark, on the fringes of society. It became a sanctuary for misfits and outcasts who saw themselves in its celebration of being different. The film's message, "Don't dream it, be it," wasn't just a line in a song. It became a mantra for the community that saved it from obscurity and crowned it the undisputed king of all cult films. From a freezing film set to a box office disaster to a global phenomenon, the story of the Rocky Horror Picture Show is as wild as the film itself. It's a testament to the power of audiences to define what makes a movie a classic. If you discovered something new today, illuminate our day by clicking like and subscribe to Golden Flicker so you never miss another story from behind the scenes of Hollywood. What film or actor do you want to see here in the next video? Let us know in the comments.